It's like you gotta like knock on the door.
I don't really go downtown that much.
Oh my gosh, you guys, the lighting is perfect.
Let's use my favorite filter.
Bitch, I'm on fire. We about to burn the fucking club down.
Okay guys, to start off our project, I am taking this pink fabric and I'm placing it on top of the cutting mat, which conveniently has measurements, and I'm going to make a cut 5 inches in length. And when I'm done with that, I'm going to turn the fabric around. I'm going to measure it about 9 inches long. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to put the fabric aside and I'm going to take my elastic band. I'm going to take my rotary cutter and cut this down the 10-inch mark. And this is seriously the best investment I've ever made because it makes everything so much faster cutting wise. So go ahead and take this elastic band and be very careful with this process. But I'm just going to take that and I'm going to cut the piece in half like so. And here I just took the measuring tape and the fabric we already pre-cut, and I'm going to make 1-inch marks on both sides of the fabric. Using those 1-inch marks as a guide, I am taking my fabric adhesive and I am applying it from top to bottom like so. Carefully placing the elastic band in the middle of that little section right there, I am carefully going to fold the fabric over and I'm going to start gently tapping the fabric on top of the adhesive. And as you're gently tapping this, make sure you are carefully pulling the elastic back and forth through the fabric, because if you don't, it might get caught in the adhesive and then it'll be stuck there and you won't be able to have any movement with the elastic band and the fabric. Once we're done doing that to both sides of the fabric, we're going to set that aside. And I'm going to take my white fleece and my measuring tape and I'm going to make a mark right there at the very start of 1 inch and also at the 3 inches. And rotating the measuring tape vertically, I'm going to make a mark at the start of the 1-inch mark and then also at the 2-inch mark. Staring at the marks we just made, go ahead and eyeball the midpoint between the 1 to 3 inch mark we made. Starting at the midpoint, I am now connecting all the lines to each other, and this will actually be used as the nose part of our bear mask. And here I'm just cutting out the shape we made with scissors. And here I just flipped it over so the Sharpie marks don't show, and I'm just cleaning out the edges with my scissors. Using our cutout as a template, I'm going to place it on top of this black construction paper, and I'm going to start drawing out the nose and the mouth for our bear mask. And when I'm cutting this out, I am cutting around the drawing we made, because you know, if we cut directly onto what we just drew, it's just going to be a very thin line. We want this to stand out and be prominent. I was in the beginning going to use the fabric pens to just draw this on the actual fleece fabric. When you do that, it actually smears the paint where it doesn't look very neat. So that is why I chose the option of just doing this on a construction paper, and it looks really animated and bold versus drawing it on the actual fabric. And here's what it should look like when we're done cutting it all out. Here I just took the pink fabric and I am measuring 1 inch from the top because this is where we are going to place our fleece. This is where the nose part should be on the mask. Once I've got my measurements down and established where I want to put this piece, I'm going to just take my fabric adhesive and go ahead and glue that right onto our mask. And now just glue on the cutout that we made. I'm now taking the black fabric paint marker and I'm going to make 3 dots above the corner of each side of the mouth, just because this is what the Snapchat filter had on it. Using the white fabric paint marker, I just started freehand drawing hearts all across the mask in rows. When you're doing this, just a bit of advice, try not to touch any of the paint. Either it's the black paint or the white, because it is still drying, so when your hands or anything go on there, it will smudge and smear, and you will just make a mess and probably have to start everything all over again. So just keep that in mind when working with these fabric paints. My camera did die after this, but I just did one more row of hearts right beneath this one. Now taking our pink fleece fabric, and I'm going to do 2 inches of length. I'm going to turn it around, and this will also be 2 inches in length, and these will be used for the ears. And to make these pieces look like ears, I'm just taking the scissors and I am rounding off the corners like so. To make sure my ears are even, I'm placing the one we already cut on top of the uncut piece, and I'm going to use this as a template so the shapes are similar, so we don't have one ear that's smaller or skinnier than the other one. I'm going to take my white fleece and I'm going to make these 1.5 inches in length and width, because these will act also as our ears, but we are going to place this inside of the pink fabric. I'm going to make these ear-like again by rounding off the edges. Same exact thing, I'm going to place it on top of the other uncut white piece so the ears are similar in shape. Here I'm taking my fabric adhesive and I am going to glue the white fabric on top of our pink ears. Now taking your headwear of choice, the one I'm using is a headband. If you notice, I'm gluing it towards the front, but by gluing the fabric in the front, it actually gives it some structure and support. Flip the headband around and let it dry upside down, because if you let it dry the other way around, the ears tend to droop towards the back, and we don't want that. We want it to stand straight up. And moving on to our second mask, all the measurements are exactly the same. The only difference is the color of the fabric and the fabrics that we are using. Go ahead and just rewind the video and use those as a reference. I promise everything is to the T. And here is the fun part. We are going to freehand the image of the mask using the Snapchat filter as a reference. And the best part about using the pencil is if you mess up, you can simply just erase it like so, because it took me a while to do this. I am not the best artist out there, but if I can do it, you can totally do it. And for this part, when we start drawing on the cheetah print, use the picture as a guide. It doesn't have to be identical to what the shapes should look like. Use it as a guide to where the shape should be placed, because these marks don't have to be perfect. If you think about it, every spot on a cheetah is not the same. Once we're done with our freehand drawing, I did place my mask on top of the black construction paper because the paint does soak through. So keep that in mind when doing this part, because if you do it on top of carpet or a white countertop, it will sink through the material and stain it. Now I'm just going over our freehand drawing with the black fabric paint. Take your time when doing this and do it with a light hand, because if you do it with a heavy hand, the paint may also spread out and make the lines a little too thick. I am now taking the white fabric paint and I'm just going to add one small mark to the left side of the nose. Moving on to the ears, I am taking the leopard fleece that I did dye yellow, and I'm going to make these ears 2 inches in length and width, and I'm going to make 4 pieces. And then here you see me just rounding off the edges of the material to make them look more like ears. And the reason I made 4 pieces of these ears is because if you turn the material around, it is not fleece on the other side. So I just thought it would be prettier if it was fleece on both sides, but you know, it's totally up to you. Again, here is the headband, and I am gluing the ears on the front of it. And here is the finished product. It turned out so much better than I thought. I even surprised myself. So if I can do it, you can definitely do it. And here I am just tying the ends of the elastic together. I made about 2 knots because this will then wrap around our ears. And when you put the mask on and you realize the width of the mask is a bit too big for your face, I just took the excess fabric, folded it underneath the mask, so it really fits your face shape. I hope you guys like this tutorial. I tried to make it as easy and as simple as possible. If you guys end up making these, make sure to tag me on your social media platforms, because I'd love to see how they turned out. Okay, have a safe Halloween, guys. Bye.